It smells a little bit like bay leaves. I thought that was kind of weird. Your
Um,
banner.
oh,
It's awkward. Is there something over there? I don't know. You've been cooking Italian food, perhaps?
nope.
Wow. Here we are Monday morning. Welcome to the Backpack Show. We're live with our guest today. We have Michelle Smith and Lauren Starkweather, who I've been so used to saying Lauren Henderson Starkweather so many times in a row that it's so abrupt to call her Lauren Starkweather.
I am excited about today. We're bringing you insights about success from not the usual places, from unusual places. I discovered Lauren when I was reading an article about chronically ill teens and this digital world that they were able to access and build a community through, and the role that played in their healing and development. So how did you discover El Michelle?
I was just thinking that I thought chronically ill teens was just a trope in young adult fiction. But
no, there actually are.
Turns out there are some.
Yeah.
No, I kid. Michelle Smith is a powerhouse is how I found her. She's an executive coach, CEO. She did like 860 things. But her book, No Thanks, is an incredible book. And it's basically the roadmap for women of color approaching a leadership position and sort of, reclaiming my time, holding my space, all of that kind of energy in one really important book. So,
well, the whole title is No Thanks, 7 Ways to Say, I'll Just Include Myself, a guide to rockstar leadership for women of color in the workplace.
It's basically don't take what you're given, get what you need. And I think that's an important thing.
Order off the secret menu.
That's right. Is this animal style?
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gargone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show. Do you know every time I play that beginning, besides always appreciating Tim Kitzrow, you know what I think? I think these guests are going to join the likes of Sister Anne Flanagan and Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And Dr. Sunny.
Dr. Sunny, the sex therapist. So it's always fun. It's always fun to think just like how this place spreads open and
a very all interesting the nice mix. And Horacio Garcia Rojas from Diablero. Like it's crazy.
We can make a new one of these every few days if Dan didn't hate us. we could have so many interesting examples of some Jesse Hooker Bailey, butterscotch.
I like it though.
Big opportunity. So what I like about it is that we can ask so many people so many different and varied questions. So grabbing Michelle Smith, we can now say, you got to hook us up here. You got to let us know, because this is a time. This is a time where we've gone through the start of. It feels like a moment where people's eyes are a little more open than they have been, and it feels like there's going to be some momentum to this. There's a new feeling in the air all of a sudden here in America. Anyway, there might be some chances to do some big things. So I figured
let's let people snap back.
Yes, definitely not snap back. Hey, it's my mom charging in from Vegas. So I'm going to grab Michelle. I'm going to call her Michelle and blow it, but here you go. Michelle Smith, how are you?
I'm good. How about you, Chris and Carrie?
So good. See, she wrote it out for you. You can't mess it up. All you have to do is read. That's it.
Can't mess this up. I can't even have to wonder what your book's title, because there it is.
There it is.
Ooh, there it is. You are much more than just this book, but I mean, let's start there. Let's start with the book, because I think that it's a great way to sum up part of what we want to talk about, which is leadership in general, women in leadership in general, and then people of color in leadership. There's a lot of overlay to this, and sort of taking what's been given. And you said, I think I need to help people with this. Talk about that for just a minute, and talk about sort of the origin story of who writes a book like this.
Sure, absolutely. So we started to see conversations around women of color in the workplace when McKinsey & Company and leanin.org first released their Women in the Workplace study back in 2017. And it gave voice and data to things that we already knew as women of color. We felt it, we'd spoken to each other about it, but no one really recognized it outside of our bubble, because there wasn't data. Data is king, right? So now there's data that says the microaggressions happen to women of color more than just women. And then on top of that, Black women have it worse than everyone, because we are the so-called double outsider by our very melanin and our chromosomes. And that comes down to the idea that white maleness is centered in corporate America. look, it's one of those things where it wasn't really built for us and we're trying to retrofit ourselves. So while corporations are making their pledges and they're putting out wonderful statements and even erecting really great programs, we can't wait, because we're seeing that Black women, women of color, women even, are all stuck in the middle of the leadership pipeline. And we haven't quite figured out what that conundrum's about. There was only one CEO at a Fortune 500. In 2016, she retired. Her name was Ursula Burns at Xerox. The only woman of color. She was the first.
And then there were none.
And there's none. And so we're still waiting on it. And I spend most of my career, if not as a speaker, as a writer, as an executive coach, coaching women on how to do the mental gymnastics to get around some of these microaggressions and biases that we face.
Give us an example of any one of those kind of moments, because when you say it, it's very important work. But first off, if people haven't been subjected to it, well, hey, look, white male. If I haven't been subjected to it, what am I not hearing that's coded? I'm not good at picking up dog whistles at all.
And this is part of the learning, right? Mm-hmm. So the book is interesting because as much as I encourage allies to pick it up, it's a conversation between me and my sister. So you're kind of listening in. And what I found is when allies pick up the book, hoping to learn, they end up learning something themselves, because I have asserted that if you can solve for Black women being the double outsiders, you can solve for anyone, right? So it's good to pick up the book. But one of those things, and I'm actually going to give you a preview because there's a remix coming of the book at the end of the spring. It's a second edition, and it will have 2 bonus chapters in it. So be on the lookout for that. But I'm going to tell you a story that may trip you out a little bit, okay? So This is in a chapter that examines the relationship between white women and women of color in the workplace. And while I acknowledge that there are tons of good white women, well-meaning white women that have been with me through the journey, and along with my sister friends, they all admitted. In fact, I surveyed 100 Black high-performing female professionals to see who has been a hindrance and who has been a help. In the numbers, you'll see when this chapter comes out that there is a good amount, about 40%, said that white women had been absolutely positively helpful in their career journeys to leadership. On the other hand, about 60% said that there was this one problematic white woman. You've probably heard the name Karen, right? So sometimes we talk about Karen in that way, but
don't love those odds, Michelle. Don't love those odds. So don't love those odds.
No, it's not cool, right? What we're finding is that there are white women who, for some reason, even those who see themselves as allies, because there's still some of those too, find their way around the workplace, asserting themselves and putting themselves in charge for no reason at all, right? Just because we entered a space. And this goes back to the idea that if Black women are not centered by this double outsider standard, when you see a Black woman in a corporate space, what do you see? And the thing is that it's not just white women, it's not just white men, it's other people of color. We're so conditioned to not seeing Black women in leadership that we all assume that somebody else is in charge. Even Black women can think this too. So the story I want to tell you is about a woman who was very well-meaning and I believe is a very nice person. But this is where microaggressions come into play, okay? Her boss, also a white woman, but she was also very British, which you can be a Karen and not even be from the United States. Anywhere there's colonialism that kind of puts you on a pedestal, you can assume the position, right? She told this woman to come and do work that I was already doing. And the woman said, oh, well, El Michelle does that work, so maybe I should go talk to her about it. Well, talking kind of turned into work jacking, right? She pretty much got credit for all of it. And I'm doing my best to be someone that's easy to work with. Now, here's the problem. One of the tropes about Black women in the workplace is that we're hard to work with. So we're working double time to make sure that we aren't seen that way, even in situations where it's absolutely wrong. So how did I fend off this Karen? It's interesting because I really did consider this person a friend. She considered me a friend. So what she would do was, and I think this was her way of trying to make it right, she would shout me out in memos and town halls as someone who helped, right? And the thing is that I was so well known for the work that she was using that the people in the department, they all knew. It was a whisper, right? So one of the tips that I have for women of color is to first and foremost be absolutely positively excellent in everything that you do, so that when questions like these come up, you don't have a lot of battling to do because you have managed your personal brand inside of that organization and outside of the organization, so that after you've won all the awards for the work that Karen has come and worked, Jack, it just doesn't ring true.
Be known for it ahead of it.
This comment came in, it just made me giggle. I want my children to have all the things I couldn't afford, and then I want to move in with them. I don't know.
That's one
I'm with that.
This other comment says the well-meaning people can be used as a stepping stone. But in this instance, it really sounds like how could you say they're well-meaning if they come in and just take credit for your work?
Well, and in this one situation, there was a very well-known music engineer who engineers for the likes of the Beyoncés and the Rihannas and such, that I nurtured a relationship with through business, and it had him speak in different situations. And this group came to me and said, who do you recommend for this big meeting that we're having? We're trying to diversify our platform. Sure, no problem. So I gave them a list of names, and they came back with this one person. They said, we've got to have this guy. Now, little backstory. People understood that I had a relationship with this guy in this way. In fact, so much so that I had been invited to Cannes, France, to do essentially what they were trying to do on stage at this meeting, have a fireside chat with this individual about inclusion and creativity. There was a budget thing, so I didn't get to go, but people knew, right? So anyway, this person was chosen again to interview the person, having no background in inclusion and diversity, no background in hip hop, no background in even knowing who the guy was. And she comes to me the evening of the meeting and tries to pick my brain quickly about this thing. And I told her, I tried to help her. I said, look, you just need to Google him and find out what you can. Follow him on IG so you'll understand his current passion points. Here I am being helpful again. But you can see the dissonance inside because you're going, I'm giving away my work. And I'm a speaker. Everyone knows I'm a trained speaker. So there was no reason why I should have been on the stage interviewing this guy. So it gets worse. I'm in a room of about 750 of my colleagues in a ballroom. They're on stage, lit up. And as she introduces him, she says she wants to shout me out. So I got the wonderful opportunity to wave my hand in the sea of 750 people just to be acknowledged. And the guest goes, well, where is Michelle? Yeah, I want to thank Michelle. I wasn't invited to come backstage and meet him, greet him, nothing. These are the things that we go through silently.
I have such a 90-degree segue kind of a question for you. It's I'm sort of known for it, but it was just after hearing that story, it made me think about some of the other work you're doing. And so I figured I'd ask a question from way outside the curve. So.
Please do.
And this question comes all the way from the second stall, the men's room at the Home Depot, just outside of Lansing. You know, I've never been able to locate a restroom at the Home Depot, not a once. I just go in the drywall aisle. No one's around.
Oh, Tim gets rough.
So my bad question. You also run a podcast.
Yes, I do.
How does it tie to the book? Does it tie to the book? It's all about culture and all that. Is this how you bring forward your earlier career and still be able to maintain some of this while you're doing what you're doing now as, coach and leadership boss and all that?
That's really not an outside of the ballpark type question. It's
okay.
So in my genesis to build this business, one of the first things that I did was establish the podcast, the Culture Soup podcast. You need to understand what the Culture Soup means. Okay. So I was on the road speaking. I did probably about 40 or 50 speaking engagements in the year of between 2017 and 2018. Okay. And I had amassed a lot of content. Every time I spoke, I would write. I'm a writer at heart. Okay. And a lot of my writing showed up as a contributor at Black Enterprise. And I amassed all of this good content. When I wasn't speaking on marketing and PR and inclusion and diversity, I was speaking on career and leadership. And I got so many people who would ask me, hey, would you come mentor me? Hey, would you talk to me about leadership? So these things were swirling. And one of the things that became my cornerstone and probably one of my most popular topics in the marketing circle was around how social media can usher in inclusion for companies if they do it right. Okay. So I make a statement in one of my marquee keynotes that says social media is culture soup. All that means is it's based in research that many of the conversations and the trending hashtags and even the way we use emojis originated with marginalized groups. Okay, so I'll give you a great example. The word work, okay, WORK, evolved into something called work, WERK. We can track that back to the LGBTQ community and the LGBTQ community of color. We all use it. Work means get a girl, right? Right. So we get that, right? So I would use these examples to show where these communities were actually innovating online, because it became that digital divide bridge for so many people back in 2007 when the iPhone came to market and all of this good stuff. Mobile social happened, and suddenly people had a computer in their pocket. They had access, they had the internet, all of that. So tech, culture, and business is what we say. This is where culture soup, we collide, when we have our conversation, and leadership actually falls within that. So you will find, although it's called the culture soup, we mostly talk business. We talk business, career, small business, and it always has a cultural overlay. So it's more business first, then culture second.
It's an interesting point, and it also makes me think when you told that story, it made me think that must be how I know you, El Michelle. I must have connected with you through way of maybe James Andrews' key influence.
That's exactly how we know James.
That's how that worked it out. Okay.
Yeah, James and I go a long way back.
Of course you do.
We're former Ketchumites.
Oh my gosh, who'd have thunk?
Yeah.
That was that's been a few years.
Wow.
So no, I agree with you. I think that's a great way of explaining it, though. Too, culture soup is a great term for it, just because we do sometimes take the best and leave some of the learning behind. That's the only bad problem with things like memes. We forget that it's built on the backs of something. It's built on something that may not always be so sweet and all that. How do you introduce some of the bitter pills in with all the sweet stuff we got to do to keep people's attention and keep the story going forward?
Well, there wouldn't be light there wouldn't be light if there weren't darkness. Let's just say that. There's no courage without fear. So you can't talk about the happy stuff without the bad stuff. And so much of this book is centered around finding the opportunity in the darkness, or finding the message in the mess, which is something we've heard in the Black church tradition from so many preachers from the pulpit. Find the message in the mess. And it's one thing to hear the outcries, because we started to hear the outcries thanks to the data. More people felt like they had a platform and they could speak on these things without retaliation. People still get retaliated against, let me just say. But let me shout out Minda Harts, whose book is called The Memo. And I talk about her book in the foreword as being one of those books that really laid the groundwork for speaking up and saying, there's a problem. And let me tell you my story. Here's the problem. My book comes after it, and it says, now, ladies, this is how we deal with it. And it is based in applied positive psychology. There are 7 affirmations. The reason why we have affirmations is because it's been proven, whether it is negative self-talk or, an outgrowth of negative self-talk is imposter syndrome. We have to do a lot to talk ourselves out of the negative things that are spoken over us, or how we're positioned, or even that we say to ourselves. It's generational. We've watched our parents and we're trying to live their lives. It's a totally different generation. We can't live their lives. They didn't even have the internet, first of all. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I recall, and I talk about this, my dad programming first generation computers in Texas. He was working those computers the same time the ladies in Hidden Figures were down in NASA doing their thing. He's in Texas in some back room because they were the computers. As a mathematician, not getting credit for his work either. But what did you do then? You put your head down. You did your work. You didn't merchandise things. You're trying to keep your job, feed your family, and keep them alive in the 50s and 60s, right? That's not how we should be doing things now, right? We've got the data. We've got the technology, the weapons of mass innovation. We can take more risk. And now's the time that we do that, especially in the wake of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement that we saw, where there was this world rebuke on anti-Blackness. We have a window in time while these companies are putting their black tiles up to assert ourselves and say, yeah, I'm ready to lead. And since you're hiring more people of color and you're committed to raising more people through the ranks, I'm here. I'm overqualified. I've got the degrees. I've done the work.
I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm white. I'm like so white that I'm blue. So probably you noticed.
You're not blue.
I really am. But I want to be in the 40% of women that is helpful and not the 60% that is not, however well-meaning it might be. So what are some things I need to do?
You know what? I say, walk it out. Don't talk it out. One of the things that really irks me is to see, and I draw from this example in the bonus chapters that are upcoming, where this one woman is just hell-bent on tweeting, I am an inclusion warrior. If you have to say it, you're probably not. Someone usually says that about you because of something that you've done and you've done consistently. If you see us as equal, that's a start. And sometimes you have to do some mental gymnastics for that, because let's face it, we have been conditioned not to center Blackness, let alone women. I mean, we could just talk about the gender thing for a second. So one of the things that I've said to my audiences when it comes to women, just women in general, we're the most intersectional group out there. We check all the boxes, but we have one thing in common, and that's our gender. And we can all relate to being mansplained or, being underestimated, called emotional. Yeah, we can all relate to that. Relate to me as a woman. That's the way to do it, to start there and then have the conversations. Ask the questions. But the first thing you got to do is make friends, because it's not fair to go into the workplace and ask your colleague at the water cooler or the virtual water cooler things that may seem a little out of bounds because you don't know me like that, right? Get some friends. If you're asking the folks at work, it's a key indicator that you don't have Black friends at home. So you need to make some friends. Start doing that. And then you can start having these conversations. They're a little tough to have. If there's going to be change, it's going to happen in our hearts, and it's going to happen with those one-to-one conversations.
L. Michelle Smith, thank you so very much for coming on, talking with us, telling us what's coming up. And now we know that there's a secret remix version of No Thanks coming.
I broke that with you guys.
So that is great. Woo! Thank you so much for being part of this. Hey, stick around if you can. We'll grab you back at the very end, but thank you so much. All right. So
I have to tell Kate wants my t-shirt. This is from Wrecking Ball Coffee. Previous guest Trish Rothgeb.
She came in like a wrecking ball, and
so these are coffees. Yeah.
Socially distanced cups of coffee.
Yeah.
I
think that's the idea.
Kate says, I can't see
your
name.
You have to do some ads before we talk to Lauren.
Yeah, do ads. There's whiskey in the way. Sorry, Kate. Here. How's that?
John Harrison says, I love connecting around commonalities. Very powerful. So the thing about making friends, and you say make some friends, is that I don't like people because I'm from Boston. So it's always been an issue for me.
Against this, El Michelle.
Kate, the website to order the book is lmichellesmith.com. No slash
no thanks. Mm-hmm. Yep. You were going to say speaks, weren't you? I was too.
I was going to. Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's right in there. Very good branding.
I stopped.
All right. Listen, authors, if you don't already have a website like L. Michelle Smith does, you can make one really quick. pub-site.com. Takes just a couple hours. You can make your own website. So easy. 14-day free trial, $19.99 a month after that. If you want to pay someone to make your website, you can pay me $2,000 US. I will make you an incredible site.
Please
or pay them $4.99 and they'll do the site for you. It's all handled. Ooh, $4.99.
Chris to do your website. It's stupid easy.
It's a stupid
really.
choice.
Go check it out.
Sponsored by StreamYard, cbrogan.me/StreamYard. You can make your own show just like this one, only probably better. And you do it for
Bring your own authors.
Bring your own authors. You can also go to Amazon, says L. Michelle Smith. This book is sold where books are sold. That's what you need to know. Bring your own authors. Hey, by no great easy feat, we are sponsored by Johnsonville Sausage. I just got another video yesterday. I guess you had sent out some sausage. I forget to Linda Estabrooks, I think it was. So I have a new Johnsonville Sausage. We're getting ready for another Johnsonville Appreciation Day coming up. If you want us to send you free sausage, and who wouldn't, carry@chrisbrogan.com. We're also sponsored by Get.online, who made the Backpack Show site. They're a TLD, a top-level domain kind of a show. And they basically, you could just get your domain to be a .online domain. But look at the site that they made for us. So if you wanted to go remember what the shows are like and see what's going on over here, you can see the latest episodes. You can get insider info by joining our little newsletter. There's all kinds of stuff. There's a link that you could send to her. That was me in Scotland. Carrie ended up being at that same event. It was so cool.
That was fun.
Yeah. And so this is a sponsors page. So you can see who is our sponsors now, like .online. So that's our site.
An eclectic show.
It is kind of, the CMA show.
Yeah. No, ours is.
So our sponsors are shenanigans. We just pick people who we like that we think you might like. So
who haven't tasted success. It's always people who chose to listen to themselves, found their own path. That's what ends up emerging. That's what the secret from it. That the day you decide to bet on yourself and stop trying to be something you're not is the day you'll start succeeding.
We got a thumbs up from L. Michelle Smith backstage, so I feel like our work's done. But
6 months in, that's right different. It just took me 6 months.
We do have to talk to Lauren Henderson, Starkweather, because we have to drag her into the story and hear all about all kinds of things, including a special virtual world. I feel like there's so much to cover. All right, I'm just dragging her.
It's called Starbright. I could be wrong.
Star something, that's for damn sure. Thanks, Hammerstrand, by the way. I'm glad you're here. Stick around, by the way, buddy. Hey, hello. Lauren, you're here in live. Good to see you.
Oh, can you hear us?
She can't hear us.
Oh, darn.
Suddenly can't hear you. So that's great timing.
That's right. She's been listening the whole time. And now can't hear.
Okay. Talk about Johnsonville sausage for a second.
Stretch it, as they say in the shows.
Can join from your phone, Lauren, if you have to. So, okay, I'll just tell you how I discovered Lauren. And I was reading an article about chronically ill teenagers and of all different types of illnesses and everything, but hospitalized. Think about like limited mobility, can't really go out and socialize for whatever, because of whatever limitations medically are placed on you. So there's this digital world called Starbright, and they don't even have to be like at the same hospital or whatever, but they'd bring the computer in and you could, all of a sudden you're connected with people who are, in situations similar to yours. And it sounded like they built this amazing, vibrant community. And so later, as they would, leave the hospital and start living independently, these people were like their tribe. And I thought that was so powerful to think about how you find sometimes in adversity, the very same people who can support you, through life's other challenges. So that's what I was excited to talk to Lauren about.
Well, speaking of tech adversity, you hit your button, I'll hit mine. Lauren, this time?
Oh, I can hear you, and it's amazing. And I hate technology, but I also like it very much. Hi,
all right, quick,
friends.
ask everything.
Oh God,
tell us everything fast.
I was a sick teen.
Great, thanks for coming by.
Okay,
you take good care. Hi,
yeah,
everyone.
So on your site, which is www, because your site's from like 1904, don'tpetmeI'mworking.com. By the way, one of our web designers should come be your friend for a minute. We met when I was the sick one. I was 17 and Molly was 14. I was bedridden from a rare blood disease that paralyzed me for several years. Great time to be paralyzed. And she was dealing with blood infections and kidney problems and a slew of other crap that no one should ever have to experience. That's a heck of an origin story, Lauren.
I mean, it all started back when I got a weird disease, and it was just all hilarious from there. I don't know what happened. Actually, it's been a weird life, but like a really good life. I, like you said, in my little old-timey website blurb there, I I was a normal, not normal, but I was a healthy kid up until about 13. And then boom, just excruciating pain all the time in the stomach. And then boom, couldn't walk. And then another boom, I couldn't use my arm anymore. And like I said, it was hilarious. But it took a while to figure out, kind of what was going on. And ultimately they did. And I have a series of rare diseases, but I found Starbright World, this sort of virtual world before virtual worlds. Well, not before, around the same time as like the original virtual worlds. And Steven Spielberg actually found Starbright World in 1994, along with General Norman Schwarzkopf. He was a military man. You may have heard of him. That's why he had general before his name. So just thought I'd share.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, he was obscure. You probably don't know of him. Just kidding. But so basically Starbright World, the whole idea was this virtual world where bedridden kids, sick kids, hospitalized kids could connect as avatars in this virtual world. And it was amazing because, you would click on someone's avatar and suddenly you're talking to a kid in the hospital in Denver and you're in Kansas City. And I met some of my best friends, in my whole life on Starbright World, and you could see each other. There were different modes. There was a chat room, and I've found that, in COVID times and also just in the internet, centric era that we live in, obviously, I found that my Starbright World days really prepped me for that. I'm so used to, FaceTiming. I'm so used to the, the virtual communication that it's like second nature. I have found that you can make connections with people. Like, don't get me wrong, I've missed with my my crappy immune system. I haven't been able to go anywhere with COVID, and nobody should be going anywhere anyway, unless it's to work, only if you have to. But I found that I miss my friends, being able to see them, but I don't know, it's just sort of the default to go back to just virtual communication, and anything else is just kind of a bonus. So anyway,
like the Oasis in Ready Player One.
Literally, I kid you not, one of my favorite movies, and it's basically Starbright World minus like the physical danger of the guys in that movie. But I guess we were in physical danger, but from our illnesses.
Right, not each other.
Which is like less like, cinematic. But yeah, it's funny. You mentioned before the teen, sort of the trope of the sick teens, and that used to be kind of a running joke on Starbright World. We would say like, oh, like Fault in Our Stars, or that kind of thing. And what's funny is a dear friend of mine actually did meet his wife in Starbright World. We had a few weddings, and the weddings were in person, but they met on Starbright World. But I personally find that virtual communication, whether it's Starbright World, which is no longer up and running, unfortunately, or whatever mode of communication you use virtually, personally, I find that it's one of the more intimate ways of communication, because you feel more open to to share things that maybe you wouldn't right away face to face. And yeah, I feel really blessed to have been a part of it. And my best friend Molly, who that post was about on my old-timey website, I feel she passed away, unfortunately, but
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, she was just, she needed a 4 organ transplant. She already had 2 organ transplants, and she was literally like a superhero. It was insane. But I don't know. I guess I just feel like, in general in my life, like I lived in Los Angeles basically I learned to walk again at like 19. And I told my parents, I was like, I want to live in LA and you know, do comedy and write and make movies. And they said, sweetie, we're with you, you know, but just, you got to be able to like reach a phone if you fall or something first. So let's work on it. And then we'll make it happen. They've always been like amazing with supporting dreams, etc. So that's what I worked on for a year, you know, in intensive physical therapy. And eventually we got a U-Haul, and my parents and my sister and my golden retriever just schlepped out to LA. And I lived there for almost 15 years, met my husband there, and had just the like weirdest, best time. And it's all kind of felt in a way like just bonus time. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to die tomorrow. Like that would suck, but I don't know. I feel like everything has just been like extra and awesome. And I want more of it, but I don't know. I guess that's how I live my life. Like everything's a bonus.
So you listening to your background, I could imagine you being like, hey, I know tons of funny things. Let's talk about comedy.
Oh my God.
How do you draw from that? What was your material like when you do stand up?
Well, a lot of it had to do, I like to tell stories with my mouth, you know, like less jokey and more ridiculous things that I've gotten myself into. I had a service dog named Phoebe, and she was a Saint Bernard and literally the best person in the world. And she unfortunately passed away last week. She was 14, but she's my hero. But she helped me walk, and so you can imagine like a pale, thin dork, you know, and her Saint Bernard, you know, walking around Hollywood and just doing it's just kind of a funny sight. And you know, we go into restaurants, and basically it was like the Hills of MTV meets I don't know, a teen sick person drama, or something with a Saint Bernard. That none of those things are like common things, but it was like that, all shoved together. And so, yeah, I guess I just talked about things that happened, and you have to see the humor in everything. Like anytime something horrible happens, and this might just be PTSD, but I can't stop laughing at it. It's all so absurd. So
see, me too, but a lot of people don't share that. That's what I've discovered.
No, very true. A lot of people look at me with like, you know, oh my God, you were, and I'm like, no, it's good. It's funny. And they're like, and then they walk away, and it's a little uncomfortable. But
yeah, a lot of people don't understand how to deal with chronically ill people. They don't understand that gallows humor is part of it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You know, I have a friend who's in a really rough spot, and I always say, well, if you know for sure you're dying, could you at least record it or something? That would be cool.
I mean, that'd be awesome.
Because I mean, we want the video to cover it.
Well,
but...
yeah, like hello. And also it's like that really sad movie with Batman, what's his name? Michael Keaton. Oh, My Life, it's called, where he records the videos for his unborn child because he's dying. It could be like that, except this is getting really sad. I'm getting sad talking about it. I hope your friend doesn't die.
But in your case, at the end of it, you'll be like, psych!
Yeah,
I'm alive.
JK. My Saint Bernard and I
all
moved
that time
to LA.
Well, that was the funny part. Carrie goes, "Hey, tell us a little about your comedy." Well, my dog passed away last week.
Well,
that was your response to tell us about your comedy.
For my
in case you weren't there.
Joke. Well, just in case, I don't know if you've. I led with the strongest, you know.
My dad died of cancer 10 days before I had my first son. Let's talk about that.
Oh my God, stop it. You're hilarious.
All right. Speaking of hilarious, I just have to point to something really quickly.
Yeah.
That's your man.
That's my man. No, that's actually my service dog, Phoebe. Yeah, no, that is my husband, Stephen, who is also a writer, and we're and he loves the Wolfman and Godzilla, both of those things. We're actually making a documentary about Phoebe and I guess me as well, but it's called "Don't Pet Me, I'm Working," hence the old-timey website. But it basically covers, you know, we went to the service dog organization and followed some families around, not in a creepy way, but followed them around while they were getting their dogs and interviewed them and kind of learned about, the different types of service dog work. Because, a lot of people think seeing eye dogs, and that's great, but there are many different types of service dogs. So anyway, and then it follows Phoebe and I on our various adventures, misadventures. One time we went to Hearst Castle in California. It was really neat. But the gentleman leading the tour thought that I was blind because of my service dog. Before I could sort of interject, I didn't even realize what was happening. He just kept taking my hand, like Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan, and he would say, "Feel this tapestry," and I was like, "Oh yeah, that is soft. That is a soft one." And then it clicked. Finally, he was like, "No one's allowed to touch anything, but come over here." And I was like, he's either a pervert, and this is getting really uncomfortable, or holy shit, he thinks I'm blind. And I was
at that point, you just got to go with it.
I had to. I felt terrible because I didn't want to embarrass him at this point. I'd already stroked statues.
Him.
Yeah.
So now you're just like looking off into space.
I tried so hard, and but then I realized I was looking at him straight in the face and deep into his eyes. And at one point, I said, "What's that?" and pointed, and I was like, "I am really bad."
But you suck at pretending to be blind, Lauren.
I clearly have not watched enough blind-centered films. Anyway, I felt like a total douchebag, but he was so lovely, and at the end I said, "Thank you so much," and I patted him or something.
That's like one of those YouTube videos where you're faking having a problem the whole time, and you make it more and more obvious, and just
oh my
see
God,
how long
it was so ridiculous. I was just like, why is this happening? But it was a beautiful castle. If you have a chance, please
see it.
Castle in San Simeon, California, a real gem.
Okay.
I really hope he sees this and is like, "You big faker."
He's like, "You son of a bee."
He watches the Backpack Show a lot. Listen, Hammerstrand had a few points I want to come back to just a second. Hammers, I'm going to click some of these. Carrie, I'm touching the buttons.
Stop it. I'm crying.
All right. Enjoying life. We can all choose to joy. So Hammerstrand asked an actual question while we were laughing so hard. Are those positive feelings and mentality kind of a result of conscious choice?
I think so, honestly, because I think in a way, yes. In a way, no, it's reflex. You're used to, so much sadness and loss, within your community. And at Starbright World, I ended up working for Starbright World when I became an adult and what was known as a chat host. So basically, I got to hang out with, picture like a nanny, but virtually, and the kids are going through some really heavy stuff, and it was truly like my honor. And so I got to be there for the deaths, the weddings, the ups, the downs, all of it. And I think it's either really feel like crap all the time, or find some kind of a purpose in it, and or laugh. Just like find the funny, but also, I think it is a choice to sort of center the good, if you will.
Exactly like that Hammerstrand petted like a service dog.
People are still laughing.
I just still wish I hadn't stroked the tapestry. I still feel I don't want to be the person that did that. But I did, and
that's what felt like a bridge too far for you.
It did. It was too many bridges.
Okay, listen, we're grabbing Elle Michelle Smith back.
Oh, yeah.
Ready?
He's doing that for me.
I'm doing it for Carrie. Hi, Elle Michelle.
Hey.
So you just heard quite a tale from the downs to the ups.
How do you feel about people who pretend to be blind to get insider tours of places like Hearst Castle?
That's layered.
There's a lot going on there. Thank you, Elle Michelle. I didn't pretend I just didn't correct because I didn't want him to feel dumb, because he was so nice, and he was before I realized what was happening, I was blind and I was stroking things.
Chloe's offering you a new Squarespace website if you want one. Chloe Forbes Kinlan.
And she's the best in the business.
I really like that idea, because I try making websites and then I get taunted on radio shows.
Just tell them that you're blind. They'll be like, damn, she made a really good website.
They're going to be impressed. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, though. That's nice. Thank you.
There's an interesting point here, though. So what El Michelle covers in No Thanks, in some ways, can be mirrored by what chronically ill people deal with, because you have to advocate for yourself all the time. People are always going to do what they think is the thing you need, never what you need. El Michelle, what comes to mind when you hear that or think about that?
Look, the accessibility market is one that I actually had a really close relationship with in my work previously. And you're right. So many of these issues overlap. And, I understand too, that if you're of a different ability, that's the way you want to be positioned. You don't want to be positioned as that person over there with a problem.
Yes.
And so often that's how they're looked upon. Again, not centered.
Yes.
And that's the problem. We have to find a way to center ourselves. And you have to do that by finding your own tribe. We talk about that in the book. A tribe that will pour into you and reinforce those positive affirmations to let you know that you are a daughter of God and you're entitled. So, yeah, I'm right.
I love
there
that.
with you.
I love that. Yeah.
You touch that tapestry, Lauren. You touch it.
Stroke that tapestry with everything I have.
That's a fuzzy wall. That's all I've got right now. I'm thinking of getting to the Greek.
And look at the marble. I was like, I feel it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, El Michelle. I really have enjoyed listening to you speak. You're incredible.
Oh, and you too. I'm going to follow you now.
Oh, I'm going to follow you. And awesome. I assure you, your content is going to be much more adult and also like not idiotic. So, yes.
Please.
Oh, well,
humor breaks through. It's a universal language, kind of like music.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, we have two more things we have to get done today, and I'm regretting it already. But
and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
I'm going to go with Hammerstrand. Bilingualism is a handicap when writing comments. I mean, this man is sitting here translating real time in English and, jumping in and from wherever he's bilingual and doing a very fine job of it. So Hammerstrand, you're our person of the day. That entitles you to one free apple. You just have to go to the store, buy the apple, probably wash it.
Wash it.
Yeah.
Really but that's your apple, baby. You win it. Okay. So here's the last part of the show. We always ask this question: what goes in your backpack? It can be anything. 5-time beatbox champion Butterscotch said a banana because it helps with that sound you need to make good beatboxes. What else do we got? What's a good physical one, Carrie?
Whiskey Nate said a book you hate, because if it's the only book you have, you'll read it and learn something from it.
It could be something like an avocado. And it could also be something metaphysical, metaphorical. It could be something like hope or pride or fearlessness and vulnerability.
Kindness. Like Ariel Helvetica said.
Right after you left Interface.
Hey, that was not my fault.
That was you and Debbie's, Nikki's fault. Nikki Porche from a Black Woman.
We've had some very lovely and varied answers. So,
El Michelle Smith, I'll start with you. What goes in the backpack?
I would, I would pack resilience. After I discussed the word no and our interesting relationship with it as human beings. We don't like to see it coming our way. And sometimes we don't like to use it, especially as women, because we're afraid of how people will see us for setting a boundary. No, actually, is the key to resilience. In fact, so many no's, it's like a game of numbers. It gets us to our yes. And through that process, you learn resilience. So even bias, even microaggressions, it's a form of no, it's rejection. It's that thing that teaches us something. But you know what? We can't move forward if we don't find the opportunity in the no's. So I'd pack resilience.
I like it. Lauren Henderson Starkweather, which separates you out from all the other Lauren Starkweathers.
That's right. It's a very common name. I have 13 names. It's
what
ridiculous.
goes in your backpack?
Okay, I'm sort of going back and forth between a photo of my family, because anytime I'm struggling in any way, I lean on them and put all my crap on them, but in a nice way. And then my best friend's ashes, and my service dog's ashes, because I feel that physical reminders of death are sometimes important, because they make you feel really alive, and it makes me feel like a jerk for not doing the things that I should and want to be doing, because I want to. Not everyone has the opportunity to be alive, right? And it's nice that I am. So I feel it's my job, my duty to do everything that I want to do for the people who can't, and the service dogs who can't.
That's the first time we've had an answer like that. I think what's the last answer that made me really sit up and take notice was an extra set of teeth. And that
Neato.
DJ Cumberbund. Yeah.
You never know when you're going to need another set of teeth.
You never do. You never do. That's what I always say.
You can mentor each other in your respective fields of expertise. No is resilience. Chloe really loved that.
Yeah, that's really, I like that too.
Touch it. I think touch the tapestry.
Stroke the tapestry.
You know it?
Stroke that tapestry. And by the way, if I may very quickly, not to hijack the show, but I always have struggled with the word no, as I know, many women do. And it really helps me to hear everything that you just said, because it makes me want to go right now to like Starbucks or something in the drive-thru, and when they ask if I want like napkins, just be like, no. No.
But always add the thanks.
Thank you so much, though. Have a great day. Yeah, just to practice.
Just practicing. I thought you were closing out the show. I was like, okay.
Oh my God, who is this psycho, sweaty, pale girl?
I'm leaving. No, I'm starting right now.
No.
Oh my God.
Anyway, but yes, thank you for that reminder that it's okay and good to say no.
Warm up to it, Deb says.
Warm up.
I start with not yet.
Yes.
Other times it's an immediate and hard no.
Yeah.
Deb's super classy, so you can take her advice.
Stuff.
Bigger fan of no right out of the gate, because
Yeah.
All right.
You have to deal with it later.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're kicking the can down the road.
No is leaving something in the inbox, so we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one thought I was having about this is, how much my grandmother would appreciate both perspectives, because she was often mistaken for things she wasn't, and she most definitely didn't stand up for herself well enough at a lot of times. But with you two as mentors, I mean, she might get quite the opportunity. In fact, one thing I think she would probably ask you for a question